welcome for the anticipated and somewhat slightly delayed 2024 Annual Board of Directors meeting. I'm Justin Andrus, and I'm the chairman of the Board of Directors this year. If we can move to the next slide, Bill.
Yep.
I guess you won't do that on my computer, will you? Like I said, Justin Andrus, board chair. Then we have Roger Cohn as vice chair, looking debonair with his headsock around his neck. Mike Coleman, treasurer. John Wittenauer, secretary. Ray Frank, head tech. And Frank Reinhold is the man on the bicycle. And Dave Kisek has been helping us out a lot this year as well. So those are our board of directors for 2024. With that, I would like to hand off to our executive director, Chelsea Vickery.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here if you're here in person, and for tuning in if you are watching us live. Just going to talk about some of the new things that have been happening in ChampCar the past year. First off, we started some new rule enforcement, some new strategies to improve on-track driver accountability by adding the 1-lap penalties for contact, like I mentioned, and just focusing more on driver car control. Overall, that has helped create a safer experience for everyone. Up next, we have some revenue growth. Last year, we had the Champ Book sale, which helped our club tremendously. We brought in new sponsorship, Flying Wrench and 9 Lives Racing. We want to welcome them to the team and thank them for their support. We secured the title sponsorship for Tire Rack for 3 years, which is huge. We do appreciate everything that Tire Rack does for our club. They help keep the costs down for our racers. We increased membership fees to $75 as well. And those are some of the revenue changes that we have seen in the 2023 and into 2024. So looking forward, we are looking to secure dates at different tracks to have some different experiences for next year, and to expand the product that we are offering to our members. All right, next slide. All right, so the fundamentals, we'll always strive to provide affordable racing at bucket list tracks. This weekend we are at Watkins Glen. We love it here, and we'll try to come back and make this a staple every year for as long as we can. Some new roles in our organization. Andy Batts and Jackie Sides have came on as new race directors. Phil Strong is the new operations director. Troy Trulio, he has been brought into timing, and Andrea Chiswick has been helping with some customer service and helping with registration issues. So
Also Dan.
And Dan, the ChampCar veteran, you'll see him in tech at some of the upcoming races, especially out on the East Coast, Virginia area. So I want to thank my team. They do a lot, and we could not do what we are doing without our entire ChampCar team. I'm extremely thankful for them. We have done some operational transparency. Our race VPI is now open to members during race weekends. We've created the live log. Bill Strong runs that during race weekends. Any call that gets called in is logged onto the log, and we can take that data and see where we have room for improvement, whether it be driving certain areas at certain tracks. It's very good data, and it's live, so everybody can see real-time feed of what's happening during race time. We have some tech meetings every Tuesday. Ray, Andrew, Matt, Steve, Dan, who else am I missing?
Dave.
And then David. They all get together, so no matter who is at a race weekend, they always get together on a Tuesday and talk about what happened in that race weekend, which keeps everybody on the same page and keeps the rules from being enforced across the board evenly. Let's see here. Next slide. So we have some, all right, I'm making sure I'm on the right slide. We've reviewed a lot of the financial documents and everything in ChampCar since I've stepped in. Kind of streamlined the reporting, an aligned, better process with tracking all expenses. We've built better budgets and different P&L forms, so we're trying to get everything more streamlined. Equipment audit, Bill did all of that. Everything that we own, we have gone through, updated, make sure that it was in good condition. And then we have also collaborated with Flagtronics. We thank Flagtronics for developing the product that they did. Bill works closely with James and everybody at Flagtronics with new updates as that product evolves. There's going to be some big things coming out of Flagtronics, and we're happy to be partnered with them and everything that they do for us. So Flagtronics is also going to start a new timing, which will be good. Eventually, we hope to get away from the timers on pit road. That will be pretty good, and then maybe in the future, we will just go straight with timing on the Flagtronics system. So that is our hopes. All right, I'm going to pass this off to Justin.
All right, thank you very much, Chelsea. Appreciate that, and appreciate you stepping up and helping us out this past year. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. Next, we're going to move on to the actual report on the year 2023 with ChumpCar International Inc. And with that, as the board portion of the meeting, I would like to hand it off to Mike to talk about finances.
Good evening. The most exciting part of the whole meeting, so pay attention. Numbers. Yeah, okay, so it's not exciting. Revenue 2022 to 2023 was relatively flat. I don't know if, I'm sure everybody read the financial statements that were posted, right? You've all read them? Okay. Got 2 people saying yes. That's one more than usual. Thank you. Revenue was relatively flat, and if you look at the bottom line on the income statement, you'll see that we did have a net income of $24,752 compared with a net loss of $11,688 the previous year. However, if you take into account that we had a ChampCar sale and raised $80,000, the picture doesn't look as rosy. So what happened? Why do we have a shortfall on income? Several things occurred during the year. Track rentals increased significantly without having planned in advance for that to happen. Insurance, same thing. Insurance went up by 50%. So, as Chelsea said, during this year, during 2023, we put together a new budgeting system so that going forward, we won't have a situation like that. We will price our product according to what it's going to cost rather than doing it from the back end and trying to catch up. All in all, the year was, thanks to Chelsea and Bill and the staff and cutting some corners, we ended up in a pretty good position. And we also had an issue that we used to borrow money when we needed it. There's always in a business like this, short periods of the year where cash is short. We used to borrow from PayPal. We didn't know that PayPal no longer did that. So we had no source of funding. That's when the ChampCar sale came in. So how do we account for that going forward? We built into the budget to make sure we would have a slush fund so that we wouldn't need to borrow. And the long-term goal is to build that slush fund up so that we have a reserve, a cash reserve for any rainy day eventuality that comes in. I think a Porsche just went by. That's pretty much it. It wasn't a great year. but we got through it, and going forward, it wasn't a great year financially, I'm saying, it was a great year on the track. Going forward, things are looking good. We've put our thumb in the hole in the dike and have repaired it. And with that, I will give it back to Justin.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we would like to go into what some of the what have the board of directors been doing this year? With that, I'd like to hand it to Mr. Ray Frank.
Oh, I guess I'm gonna do your page too.
Whose page is
It
this?
should have been Daisy. We'll do it. I got
Which
it.
one?
We're good. The board, we had a lot of work we did this year. Great efforts made, like, it was just saying there that, we had some problems coming up, and we made some changes, just stuff to, assure the short and long-term financial stability of the club. Detailed cash flow models were created, monitoring of it, creating implementation, and a number of financial reporting methods that a lot of people in big companies use, and we'd kind of been flying off the hip our whole existence.
And Ray, if I could, I apologize. I was reading off of the list that Bill gave me, not what we talked about. I apologize. So I can pick it back up if you would prefer me to. Sorry, that was an improper handoff.
What?
I got it from here.
Go for it.
All right, there you go. So yeah, back to the detailed cash flow model. We spent a lot of time, effort, forecasting when different expenses would come in, when payments would come in, just to, as Mike spoke before, get a better feel for cash flow and to, identify when there might be any pressure. Also, a lot of different financial reporting methods were created and are being used, from budgets to, like I said, forecasts and the cash flow. Also, the board really worked a lot hand in hand, guiding the club during the transition period of leadership that we experienced in 2023, and worked with and very appreciative to have the ability to appoint Chelsea Vickery as our executive director. And once again, for the board, thank you for your efforts. And they also super fun and can't explain exactly how many hours and just incredibly fun conversation to update a large number of EPIs and to go over to all the different changes to the BCCR. Now, with that, should be handing it off to Mr. Kisak.
Okay, good evening. Thanks for coming. 2024 saw the board form committees to review the bylaws and for long-term planning, as far as the financial, which includes part of the long-term planning process. We're continuing to investigate options on tire costs, how to control them. We had a conversation Chelsea did with Tire Rack, and she could probably maybe tell you a little bit about that. I think it was short and sweet, but we're still looking into what can be done with tires. The board also put together their thoughts and initiated a member survey, which will be out. I think it may be on the internet. We've been distributing it at races and getting some pretty good feedback. And John Wittenauer is putting together a pie chart together on some important points on it, which I'm sure will be distributed also. And that's all I've got.
Okay, and I think with that, I'd like to go into a little bit more example of what we're doing with the member survey and hand it to John.
All right, thank you, Justin. So far, this is the survey, and it's meant to just be a quick one pager that we hand out at the races. And the idea is to get input from folks that actually attend events on their feelings on the club and the direction of the club and where we should be going. We hate to just put something out there on the internet and you don't know who you're really getting input from. Are we getting input from people that actually spend their money and show up, or are we just getting a bunch of trolls? So far, This survey has been conducted at Daytona and at Gingerman, and we hope to do it at some more of the tracks. If you go to the next slide, we'll just have a couple examples. So one of the questions was, how would you rate your satisfaction with the direction of the club? And as you see, 1 dissatisfied and a 5, very satisfied. Looking at this, what they call a net promoter score, figuring that anybody that rates it a 4 or 5 is someone that is going to talk good about your club and is going to, help attract other people. If it's a 3, then they don't really, care, and they're not a promoter. Of course, if they're a 1 or a 2, they're a detractor. So you take the total 4s and 5s, and you subtract off the 1, 2s, and 3s, and in both the Daytona survey and the Gingerman survey showed a pretty darn good 60% net promoter score with regards to the direction of the club. One of the other things, if you go to the next slide, one of the other things that I picked out of the results so far was, what's your favorite race format? And, it was pretty overwhelming. Number one, it was, people didn't actually follow the directions and choose a first, second, and third choice. A lot of people just put down their first choice on the survey. But be that as it may, overwhelmingly, folks like to have the 2 race weekends. But there's a very strong desire to always, have a mix of some of the longer races. Champ Car wouldn't be Champ Car without a 24 and without some of these 12 and 14-hour races. So, that's just a couple of the examples. So when, you're asked to do a survey, one of the races this year, please fill it out, give it back at registration or to somebody walking pit road, and make your voice heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And like I said, really the idea is to get it out in front of as many people as possible to have the best representative sample of what the club really wants to do. And this is just one of the ways we're trying to do that. All right, next up, we'd like to talk about the Technical Advisory Committee, otherwise known as a TAC. And to that, I'm sure I'm handing it to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Frank.
PI, they're a good group of guys that stay quite involved. The TAC advises the board on technical aspects of the series. This includes VPI reviews, BCCR modifications, additions, and safety aspects, along with several other items. Like when I have a problem, I have an issue I don't know anything about, I go to them and we work it out. We don't always agree on everything, but they help a lot. I mean, they're a very good group of guys. We kind of roll some different folks in and out, but Andrew Sides is very involved with the TAC, and Roger Cohn is our liaison from the board to the TAC. So we're quite involved. They're quite involved with us, and they meet, however's required. Sometimes when the petitions, they're going through petitions and stuff now, and the VPI, depends on how many VPIs get asked for in the quarter as to how much time they have to spend on it. So they meet via Zoom, chat meets, talk. They kind of like have a little chat room they talk in. And they say typical workload, those guys do from 2 to 6 hours a month. I think it's a little more than that, but that's what stuff says. TAC discusses and presents their recommendations to Roger. He brings them to the board with whatever suggestions they have. And they're a very valuable group in my mind, and I appreciate everything they do for them. I'll run down their names real quick. It's Mike Coppola, Evan Horner, Andrew Johnson, Ben Shout, Rob Greenwood, Joshua Jacks, and Grant Beatty. So we have a couple that are going to be leaving, and we'll be getting a couple new ones in. So we like a little fresh ideas every once in a while. And I think that's it for my page. So back to you, Justin.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Now, next up, let's talk about ChampCar iRacing. Roger, please.
All right, so the story with these guys is, as you can see, the stats down there from 2019 to 24, they've just been steady increasing participation. this group, they're piggybacked on us, but we use each other. They come and the guys that race the iRacing series, we generate interest and they come race with us. If you do really well, you can win some credits to come race with us and use those credits to race with us, and vice versa. If you want to get a little practice in on a track that we're heading to, you can go do the iRacing series. They always try to schedule races, at the locations prior to an actual race. So it's a well-run group. There's the three guys, David and his group, Devin and Derby. They put on a good show, and it's reflected by not just participation of the ChampCar guys, but they do a lot of cross recruitment from the other series. We've really got a better iRacing group than some of the other series, the Lemons guys and WRL. A lot of those guys come race with us, and we appreciate them coming over and racing with us. We've got a good product to offer, and it's all a result of the work of those three guys. Can't say enough about David and Devin and Derby. Those guys do a good job of putting the races on. They've brought some new cars into the series this past year. They've introduced rain racing. They've done some sprint races and moved the enduros around some. They've got a really good high quality broadcast, 1440p. And then the things that I just talked about, going with the other series, and also working within the social media that we've got available to promote what they got going on. And it kind of comes back to the numbers. You can see it's working because they've had a steady increase from the time that Doc and those guys got together and put that thing together in 2018. So good story. That's what I've got for you there. I think with that, I'll hand it back to Justin.
Thank you very much, Roger. Appreciate that. Next up, I'd like to hand off to Frank to talk about BCCR and petition update. Is Frank
submitted this year. The petition process is very important to us, probably more important than in the past, because we're trying not to do things that come out of thin air. So we really look to the petitions to polish the rule set, is probably the best term. There sometimes, we think that we need to take a big swing at the rules, but it's probably better if it comes from the membership. And if we do come up with things, we'll always want to have the feedback from the members. We had 92 members submit comment on those 39 petitions, but we really would like to encourage more comment on it, just because it gives us a better sense. More people will comment than maybe the broader membership might want, or their comments might reflect one way or the other more, but it helps us to get a better idea of what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Shouldn't do is also in our vocabulary. So the members, they also voted on things, and out of those 39 petitions, we had 10 yeses, 28 nos, and 1 maybe. I'm not sure maybe is maybe yes or maybe no. So we can put that in both categories. We're still reviewing it. We hope to get stuff done in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, but we really would like any input from y'all. Sometimes those petitions will be modified. Like an example might be if somebody says we're going to review VPIs every 6 months, the petition was there. We might decide, well, maybe it would be better to do 4 months. And then we get some feedback from tax, like, we're working too much already. But we might work a little bit around the details, but we would like to start anything that we do as far as changes with the petition process. We don't want to pull stuff out of thin air. We hope to make those decisions by mid-year. I know mid-year is like almost now, but again, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we really encourage any feedback and any questions to us, because that process is starting now, as far as voting on and what we're going to add to the 2025 rule book. And with that, Justin.
All right. Thank you very much. That concludes the majority of the presentation, what we had for you. Once again, I apologize for some of the technical difficulties at the beginning. With that, we'd like to open up, have a couple minutes to open up for a few questions. And Bill, you will be able to provide those questions because I don't have them where I sit.
Yeah, we haven't had any
All right.
online, but we do have a microphone up here if you guys want to come up and ask questions. Anybody? Jason? Say your name and member number.
Good evening, I'm Jason Kennedy. My member number is something low 4 digits, but I don't remember it specifically. I'm the team captain of Team Sparrow Speed. First, I'd like to thank all of the board and Chelsea for all of the hard work and the direction and the effort that we continue to see ChampCar grow and the races and competition continue to be the absolute best value for racing anywhere. I have a number of questions, but I'll deliver them one at a time, hopefully to share the floor. My first question is very specifically for Mr. David Kiak. It remains an unsolved mystery as to the origin of your either database or resource for sending a large number of unsolicited text messages during the board of directors election cycle this year. And I would just like to know where you obtained a list of member numbers.
The internet. Google. I've been involved in politics, Jason, for many years, at national level, local level, state level, and it's pretty easy to obtain all that information.
So
There was nothing done illegal, and there's no, I don't believe we had any rules that you had to put a bio out on the form, and that was it.
I'm not suggesting that it came from anywhere else. I'm not necessarily accusing you of anything illegal or anything like that. You do recognize that you sent a substantial number of unsolicited text messages to members. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Moving on from that, my next question is, Chelsea, how do you feel about the tech process in ChampCar? How easy should it be for cars to come and join and race with us? And how close to the rule book would you like to see tech enforcement be?
I'd like to think that tech enforces the rule book per standard and that it's open to a lot of cars that we're allowing to cross over. That's what we're trying to shape the series so that more cars can join.
So what is being done to reduce the number of surprises in tech where tech is enforcing something that is a deviation or not in the rule book, where the rule book doesn't address an issue or addresses an issue in a manner, but the tech is...
It depends on if that's a safety issue. So safety is obviously our biggest concern. If there's something that can make you safer out there that they feel that should be there, then they have a right, they have a say in how that goes. If they treat you one way, they should treat the next person the same way. So if it's being done to all of the cars, it's done to all the cars. So.
Excellent, thank you. My last question is for Ray or anyone else who is involved in the podium process and impound and teching cars for enforcement as we look for parity with the rules. What is being done and what can be done? What would you guys like to see done in order for there to be either better parity within the series or better enforcement so that there are fewer questions of parity, whether or not it's there? Thank you.
You're gonna have to clarify. I'm not really
Yeah, that was
getting the whole gist of the question.
So the intent of my question is, so in an ideal world, everyone would show up with a car that was very close to each other because the rule book had everyone bring all of these cars together. We'd have an incredibly tight race between
like we
100
do.
cars every single weekend.
Yeah.
And we have very, very, very good racing. Still sometimes there are questions at impound of, oh, was he maybe doing something illegal? Or, oh, is that a perfectly valid thing in the rule book? And so from both perspectives of that, what can be done as a club and a series so that there are fewer questions of, is that legal? Is he cheating? How is enforcement?
Well, I don't know. I think we do a pretty good job of it, and we're not perfect. No series is. Even when you go to spec series, I mean, I've been involved in spec racing a lot. I mean, down to the thousands on every part you're going to put in the engine, down to that. There's still problems. We run long races. We race. We don't talk about racing like other organizations do. We drop the flag. We race like racers race. I'm very proud of the competition we have. I'm amazed at the different classes of cars and how competitive they are against each other. I mean, I'm watching a Mini and a Firebird duke it out over here while a Miata, and it's just, you know, the parity of cars. Yeah, one may be faster, but hey, this one goes longer, so you don't have to stop as much. Wait a minute, at the end of the race, geez. I mean, I've been just so, yeah, we've had a couple of blowouts, but every series does. Every once in a while, somebody gets on a good roll, and they got a good combination and good luck, which is the main thing, you know. We may have, you know, car gets way out front. That happens very, very seldom in this series. Very seldom, I think. I'm at a lot of races. I see a lot of stuff. We found a lot of things. I mean, I found big engines. I found, you know, big gas tanks. I found, you know, a lot of stuff. It's very hard at the end of a 12-hour day. I mean, I'll do whatever the club wants. I go to South Boston Speedway. You know, if y'all at the end of 12 hours, if y'all want to pull them in there and we pull the head off, boo, I'll be there to the end of it. I'll mic everything on it. We'll do whatever you want to do, but that's not fun. And what I'm finding most of the time with our most competitive and our guys running up front in this series that are serious about it are doing it pretty well by the book. It was, oh man, there's so much cheating. Bill Valley, oh gosh, he cheats so much. Oh, this guy here, he cheats so much. Oh, this big motor here. Wait a minute. I checked the motor. A board stroked it. It's not a big motor. They're not doing that. You know, he does happen to have the best driver on the planet in the car right now. Maybe that might give him a half a second. Okay, it's not a big motor. When I look at the data we have, and we do know a little bit more than maybe some folks do, and I see I got 5 cars or 6 cars going in the back straightaway, and 5 of them are running the exact same top speed, exactly down the road to Atlanta, 1.25 miles long. And they're running exactly the same speed. Which one's got the big motor? But then again, I look over here down through the downhill S's, and there's a guy, man, this guy's miles an hour faster than everybody else. Gosh, and he's got a faster lap time too. Imagine that. Not a big motor. You know, I mean, we got data, I can tell you. So I don't know how we can. I mean, we can pull stuff, we can do it, I can do it, we got tools, we can, but it's just, at the end of the day, it's a long day, a lot of racing, there's a lot more of the cars. And I really, like I said, I found some things, and we've thrown some people out, you know, and, you know, I'm sure I've missed some things too. But I appreciate everybody that does what they do, and like I said, we're trying the best we can. We talk a lot, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, like all of us. I'm walking pit road, but all these other people that we have in these shirts, they know how much gas you can put in a Hunsaker jug. You know, and it's no secret you can put more than 5 gallons in one, right? Oh, they're saying count jugs too. We're watching a lot of stuff, believe it or not, you know. I'm proud of it myself, but, you know, good question. I finally understood. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
All right, what's next, Bill?
Anybody else have any questions? Yep, all right. Yeah. Mr. Shannon coming up.
Hey, Brett Shannon, no idea of number. Been doing this with Champ for 5 or 6 years and racing most of my life. And I would encourage, first off, thanks guys, appreciate it. Nobody gets rich doing this. Thank you all for spending the time. The one thing I would actually encourage the board to really look at is BPI adjustments and the frequency of that. I think we get trapped into a world where we're so afraid of upsetting one person, one new bill, that the 95% of the field is pissed off. Because well, we're not going to change it for a year, look how much energy they put. We've got a lot of folks that are spending a lot of time unhappy for a long time. And if we had a faster product, and I don't want to go to BOP adjustments every week, it'd make us all insane, but if we we could speed that up so it wasn't so slow, I think you'd run into a situation where, hey, it went up, it goes down, and we're more nimble, and therefore everybody ends up with cars that are competitive and close and having a good time. And they don't feel like they're trapped, slow or fast, and nobody's out there running away. We're just getting blown away by the cloud. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? One more?
Will Moneymaker, like Brad, I don't know my number, racing since 2011 in the series. One thing I wanted to just kind of have a perspective on is talking about tires. Our teams had that experience to have gotten into pro racing, and when you get into pro racing, when you start looking at trying to manage tires, it is a huge nightmare. We experienced that when we were running IMSA. They had at least 5 or 6 people running around just trying to keep track of the tires of what people were marking. So when we look at the grand scheme of things, I think if we're going to do tire management, we have to make sure that that is not something that is so out of line that it's running costs up. So what I did was a little kind of figuring out. So we run Yokohamas, or that's team sailing. The cost of a set of Yokohamas for our car is $1,174. If I go to Continentals, which I know is a tire we've been talking about, that's $1,040. It's a difference of about $130 for a whole set. So when we're looking at this grand scheme of the whole picture of what this costs are, and what then we're going to be asking the entire ChampCar staff to have to be managing, I think that's the way. If it's so far aligned that people are getting a huge advantage on spending more money to get to that, that's one thing. But if they're not spending a whole lot more money, and people are choosing not to spend another $50 or something, that's their choice. And just as another example, the Yokohamas, we are getting a race and a half out of those. And I know on Continentals, people are getting 2 races. So it's not as big of a difference as people want to think there is on the wear of these tires. So I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands that dynamic. Because an example, I did this. If a Continentals can go 2 races and Yokohamas can go a race and a half, that means if you're in a 4-driver lineup, in one day, that driver has now spent $100 more for 2 hours of racing. So I'm not saying that $100 isn't a lot of money, but again, when you start looking at the rental rides, what people are charging is $2,700 for a weekend, and you're now saying $200 is not what is going to blow the series out. So I'm not saying it's not a lot of money. I'm just saying we're starting to look at trying to equate, is this going to be worth all the effort for ChampCar? That's all I'm trying to say is, you guys look at that, and I'll hand these to you guys if you want to use these.
So I'd like to address a little of that. So yes, your car is great on Yokohamas, and the initial costs for you are very close. But like say a team like us, we can go through Yokohamas in 4 to 6 hours because our car is not balanced. It's camber limited. So it makes a huge difference for us if we have a tire that lasts. Even though the initial cost is very close, but as far as long-term, that tire lasts a whole lot longer. So your car is easy on tires. So it's a little, I get it. It wouldn't affect you to go from a Yokohama to a Continental. You're looking, but for a lot of these teams, it does affect them a lot. Because like I said, we can go through Yokohamas in 4 to 6 hours. RS4s, we can get anywhere from 24 to 30 hours on. And then the Continental, which we're running now, is really, it's a event and a half, I'd say, right now, depending on the track. And then when we go to a track like NCM, it really is dictated by how much money you throw at the tires. You can go through a Yokohama, even on a well-balanced car, very quickly just because the surface was so abrasive. So it's a moving target. And it's also the target's moving at different speeds with different cars. If your car is good on tires, it's not a big deal. But if your car pushes like a dump truck, like an E30, it's totally different.
I just like that. I know the amount of effort it's going to take ChampCar to manage that process, and then you run into the situation like Lucky Dog has, where they can't even get hand cooks into the country sometimes,
right.
And Continental tires are shorting. So I'm just saying that we could put ourselves into a quagmire where the series literally almost comes to a dead still over that. That's just my thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think just overall, I think the board in the series is just cognizant of trying to help control costs, period, not present a particular methodology at this point. Just knowing that, our series, we want to make sure that the barrier to entry isn't too high for folks to want to come race with us. So that's the spirit of it. But as we all know, the devil's in the detail.
And like you said, we also don't want to make the job impossible on Chelsea and her team to have something that's just impossible to police. So this tire issue is going to take a lot of thought to come up with something that's really workable.
Yeah, I would say we've seen teams use 16 and 18 and 20 tires in a weekend, and I would hope that everybody in this series would recognize that's not where this series needs to be.
Any other questions or statements
I think that's it.
for open mic night? All right. Well, if that's it, once again, I would like to just thank everybody. Bill, can you verify that the actual copy of the slide deck will be up live and then a copy of this recording will be made available to everybody?
Yeah, the slide deck is up and live right now. It is on the board of directors page behind the member wall. And this will be up when probably Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday, if that's all right.
Okay. All right. Well, unless anybody has anything else, thank you all very much. And everybody have a good weekend and be safe out there.
Yeah, be safe out there.
Yeah.
Have fun at Watkins Glen, guys.
Yep. Everybody be safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day.